so there is a little, I think there's more under here than we think.
Uh-huh.
And you can see they started to build wax already.
What is that?
That's wax. They started to already wax it.
Okay, so this was going to be their new home.
I'm thinking so, and I'm just afraid that there might be...
If you want to peel some of that up, you're more than welcome
Are
to.
you sure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm hearing a fair amount of buzz in there.
Kind of what I figured with it, but when I took the picture, yeah. Don't worry about it. Peel it up. We'll fix it.
Oh, it's not as bad as I thought. That's good news.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna get the ones that are underneath. I don't think there's a big enough hole for them to go in, but maybe they were hoping there was.
How will you know if you got the queen?
Well, that's the hard part, and I was kind of keeping an eye out for her, but I didn't see her. But it's a big mass, so.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not seeing them come out, so that's good news. I thought maybe they were up and under.
Okay.
But it doesn't look like it. They would be coming out. So what I'm gonna do is the ones that are flying will probably settle there in a second.
Yep.
But I want to get this out of the way because maybe I'm just hearing what's in there, and I want to listen up there to see if I hear it. Oh no, they're in the bucket. That's good news.
Okay.
So we'll let these few stragglers kind of
calm down and go have a seat.
They usually will go up there and they'll start forming another little thing. There's going to be like a dozen at the most that linger.
Not a big deal.
But what they'll do is they will rob themselves into another hive. What they do is they go collect a bunch of nectar, go to a hive and say, hey, I got some food for you. Can I come on in? And usually they'll let them in, but most bees, you know, they're not allowed to go into other hives.
Oh, wow.
They're...
So since you're so into bees, and I haven't done a lot of research on them, but I do read the articles here and there. Why are the bees dying out? It sounds like nobody really knows.
It's the $1 million question. I think it is, if you, depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
If you ask environmentalists, they're gonna say the pesticides, and there is some evidence to that, especially in countries that have banned those pesticides. The population is on the increase.
Oh, really?
But there are a lot of natural enemies. There's mites, which are parasites. And so most beekeepers, or they should at least, treat now for mites. And the mites weaken the hive.
Okay.
And so then winter comes, it's harder for them to stay alive throughout the winter.
Oh, really?
And the cold is not always the worst part of it, although beekeepers will insulate hives. But it's the moisture. Moisture gets up in the hive. So imagine if you're outside when it's cold and you fall through the ice.
Oh, yeah.
And now you're wet.
I'm a firefighter, so I dive into
right.
Wall Lake
so,
at least once a year for practice on ice rescue.
So you can go through hypothermia a lot faster than if you're not wet.
Exactly.
Same with the bees. If they're wet and it gets cold, it's harder for them to stay alive. So there's a variety of things. I mean, there's this whole colony collapse disorder that is still a big question mark.
That was my next question, because what is it? So nobody really knows what that is yet.
Well, they just know that they know what it is. They know that bees and I've had it happen. Your bees look fine one day and you go back and literally there's not a bee in sight. Like,
really?
They're gone. And so they're calling that colony collapse disorder.
Do they move like this colony did, or?
No, this is a swarm. So what happened here was somewhere, probably not far away.
There's a lot of construction going on in this area, and a lot of woodlands are being chopped down.
But what happens is there's a mother hive, if you will, and that queen is laying eggs, and her whole objective is to get as many bees as possible, because more bees, more nectar equals more honey. And so she just keeps laying eggs all summer long. Well, if she's in a cavity, let's say of a tree, she's going to run out of room.
Yeah.
And so the bees sense that we're running out of room, and so what they do is they draw out what's known as a queen cell, and it's a new queen. And that queen, they feed her the larva royal jelly, and that royal jelly makes it a super bee, and it becomes a new queen. And so
wow, this is interesting.
It's crazy. So when the new queen is born, she has to go out and do her virgin flight, and she'll breed with about 10 to 15 or more drones, which are male bees, not from her hive, but from other hives, and come back. In the meantime, the original queen, so she's probably in here with them, takes about half of the hive with her. They find a spot to temporarily land. It's weird how they choose. I've gotten them off of building walls, I've gotten them out of trees, I've gotten them out of, I mean, like there was one the other day that my friend got on a shopping cart at Meijer. The queen lands and they all just swarm to protect her. While they're in this swarm, so you will probably notice that a few came in and out during the day.
Yep.
Those are the scout bees. They're going out, about a dozen or so of them, depending on the swarm size, and they're trying to find a new home. And so that bee will find, let's say, a cavity in a tree. It will walk the cavity, and in a sense, measure it, come back to the swarm. By dancing, called the waggle dance, it will communicate the dimensions and where it's located. And then another scout will come and communicate dimensions and where it's located, and they'll all come back, and then somehow, like a democracy, they choose one, it's communicated, the queen takes off, knows where to go because they got the directions, goes to that thing, and they all follow her, and they start a whole new hive. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, I want a copy of this video. You gotta send it to my email.
It really is amazing. You know, honeybees are, in my opinion, one of the most amazing creatures on this earth.
Obviously, that's why it's a big hobby for you. You know a lot.
I love them, and they're amazing, and I've just reached the tip of the iceberg sharing. And so that's what my nonprofit does. Of course, I do this to save the bees, but I'm all about conservation and education.
You come out here and talk to the kids about bees?
Of course.
Okay.
That's what I do. So that's my main thing. I want to educate.
And maybe you can bring this hive.
Well, I do have an observation hive, a mobile observation hive, where I can bring bees that are enclosed, obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm just going to take this hive, most likely to one of the urban gardens in Detroit, introduce it to the hive boxes, and start a whole nother hive.
Awesome.
And so,
even though they didn't go do that 12 scout measurement thing,
they obviously have not found anything that they find is suitable, because for them to be here this long is really surprising.
Well, some mosquitoes we got to deal with.
So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of mosquitoes. No. I like honeybees. So I'm, in a sense, giving them a luxury apartment.
Okay.
I mean, I'm giving them the ideal situation. They didn't find it on their own. I'm putting them in there. I mean, I've never had a swarm of bees reject a hive.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they're like, hey, there's frames in here, everything we need, this is perfect.